Someone pointed out to me that this is a money-making endeavor by
Oh, I don't know
NASA
about that.
for the
Really?
trumpet, basically saying this is why they'll need an extra $1 billion or so
Uh,
over the next few years to watch the
See, that's a
asteroid.
perfect example of how we're watching the birth of cynicism in real time.
Mm.
To be able to grow and grow and grow, and everybody looking a little askance at anything that happens. But apparently, this is up to now 3.1% possibility of hitting the planet, and if it does, it's larger than, I don't know, some football fields and whatever, and it's not big enough to kill the planet or the dinosaurs or what.
Oh
We're
no.
the dinosaurs, by the way, in case you were
What?
wondering. We're the dinosaurs, so it's not enough to kill us unless it lands on us, but it could wipe out an entire metropolitan area. And it might, they're saying now it might just hit the moon instead.
Might. Might.
Yeah, I mean, this is like,
First
it's
off,
still,
yeah,
like tiny, tiny chance it's going to hit anything.
okay. And they say right now that the size of this asteroid is estimated to be about 60 to 90 meters big. Okay. So 60 to 90 yards big.
Yeah, okay.
And if it enters Earth's atmosphere, it would probably start to break up also.
If
Okay.
it's rocky, but if
Now,
it's metal, it won't,
well, and I also read
supposedly.
a little like what you just pointed out that if it does actually enter Earth's atmosphere, it could cause an explosion that would be bigger than an atomic bomb,
Yeah.
basically like that. Having said that, I think this is overdone.
Yes,
I
it is
mean, they're
overdone.
talking about the year 2032. I think that this is more apocalyptic worries by people that don't have anything better to do.
Yeah.
And it just, I find it a little bit absurd. What I find much more interesting are these earthquakes that are taking place in the
Mm.
Mediterranean with Santorini.
Yeah, yeah.
And for a couple weeks, they were saying this has nothing to do with the volcano in the middle of the
Yeah,
Mediterranean
I
next
know. It
to the
was like,
island.
it was obvious that, what else would be causing it? It's
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
volcano.
yeah.
The island is a
And I'm like,
volcano.
yeah, and I'm like, what are you not paying attention to? I thought you people were scientists, and this makes me worried about all of the geologists and people that are predicting this kind of things. These guys have had over 10,000 earthquakes, I think, in
Mm-hmm.
the last 2 weeks. They're
Yeah.
having cluster earthquakes, and they're having earthquakes that
Yeah.
are going over 5 on the Richter scale every once in a while. And they've started to notice that parts of Santorini have actually started to expand by about 40 centimeters. Now, what does that remind you of? Do you remember the news when we were kids about Mount St. Helens?
Mount St.
How
Helens.
the and because the volcano in this instance is under the water, you really can't
Mm-hmm.
watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
they don't have cameras on it, and they
Right.
can't say, "Well, it's growing."
Yeah,
But
true.
suddenly everyone's talking about a volcano again.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually should be paid attention to, I believe.
Yeah. How close to the rest of like Greece and Turkey and elsewhere? I'm trying to picture it in my head. But Santorini is an island. There's a whole bunch of islands around it. It's very old, very famous, and it's a tourist destination. I get that. But how close
Peloponnesian
is that to a
Islands,
major
basically.
metropolitan center? Because I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, when we were kids, and Mount St. Helens Blue, I have family up in Portland, Oregon, still do,
Mm-hmm.
and they had, and this is a different state. This is a whole state away. Washington versus
Yeah.
Oregon, they're big states. They had like, I don't know how many inches, but of ash covering
Mm.
afterwards throughout Portland, covering their cars, covering everything. It was really thick. It was toxic to breathe. There was this whole thing about it. It took weeks to clean up.
I flew over Mount St. Helens in the 1980s after it had blown up
Mm-hmm.
while I was on my way to Alaska. And it was a sight to behold to see a mountain that had been
Hmm.
sheared off.
Yeah, I
Were
bet.
you in San Francisco when this thing blew up?
Yeah, yeah. I was in San Francisco. Can't remember
In
if we might have gotten a little bit of it, but I can't remember for sure now of the ash because it
because I was in
dispersed all over the
Arizona.
place.
I was in Arizona and they were saying, "Oh, you might see ash and the sky might turn yellow," but
Yeah,
I don't think we saw any of that.
yeah.
But what I remember about Mount St. Helens, besides the momentous explosion being caught on film, which was unbelievable, was the fact that certain people didn't believe it was going to happen, and they stayed on that mountain. There was some
Harry
old
Truman.
man.
Yeah, Harry Truman was his
Exactly.
name. Yeah,
And he was
yeah.
what? How old was he?
He
He
was
was in
like in
his
his
80s
80s
or
or
90s,
something.
right?
Yeah, just this old guy. He's like, nah, it's fine.
Uh,
Well, he died the way he wanted to, and
so,
he'll be a future exhibit at a Pompeii show or something
well,
like it.
he would do well to stay away from Santorini now. His
Yeah,
spirit animal.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, very nice.
But my question was how close is Santorini to like a large urban center? Is it going to affect? And probably be a tidal wave or tsunami rather if this thing blows.
Well, they've issued tsunami warnings in Turkey, in Greece,
Hmm.
in Israel, I'm sure in Lebanon too. Look, the Minoans, this is where they were located, basically.
Yeah, that's
Their
right.
whole civilization got wiped out by this. And we don't
Huh.
know anything about them really, except from myth,
Mm.
in essence. But we know for a fact they existed, except we don't know what they were really called. Minoan, the name Minoan was given to that civilization that got wiped out by these volcanoes on these islands or underneath the islands and stuff by an anthropologist, archaeologist,
Mm-hmm.
historian in the
Mm-hmm.
1800s, basically, or early
Really?
1900s. It's amazing how we rewrite the history of these things.
Yeah.
But apparently, yeah, look, it's fairly close to Turkey, these islands,
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
and it depends how the wind is blowing.
I always thought the name Minoans came from the SS Minnow because it would moor there frequently.
Yes, from Gilligan's Island, we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
maybe that's not true. Okay, so if there's a tsunami, there's a lot of lakefront property around there, man, and not to mention Gaza.
I knew that was
I'm not
coming.
making a joke. I'm serious. I mean that's the kind of the last thing they need.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well,
I guess we'll find out.
we're more north of Gaza here. I'm about
Oh, I don't
5
care about you.
kilometers from the sea and stuff. Yeah, well.